Morning, everyone. Thanks for all coming together today. Just a good opportunity to allow you guys to fire some questions away on where we are at the mid-season mark.
Where do you feel like this team is at? What improvements have you seen under Jacques?
Well, I've seen over the last stretch, Bruce, and it's just been really a shorter period of time, but over the last 5 games, I think this is exactly where I expected this group to get to from a level of compete and discipline and details in our game. I think it's been pretty evident with our play and contributions from everybody in the lineup. It's starting to really come together. I think the things I talked about when we brought Jacques on board were just that, and I think I'm encouraged with our last stretch of games and where we're at. I think that they've done a tremendous job. I mean, Alfie and Cappy and Ben Sexton, I think the entire coaching staff has done a really great job of hammering in all the details that it's going to take for us to win games consistently. And our team's still learning how to do that.
Other teams tell me that you are open for business, trade-wise. What are you looking to add?
Well, am I open for business? I think I've had some good discussions with lots of teams. I think I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't looking for all opportunities to make this team, successful, short term and long term. I think the long term vision is extremely important to keep an eye on here with our group. I think that you can't have enough leadership and experience. I think that that's certainly an area that I'd like to look at. Also, the fact I think we're looking at complete players as well. 200-foot players. I think those are the types of things that we're looking at now. If there's an opportunity, the market will dictate. There may be an opportunity here at the deadline, and if not, then we'll continue to work on it, and maybe there's an opportunity in the off season.
Have you identified an area of need, Steve, more about up front or more on the blue line or goaltending, or is it really just kind of an overall?
I think it's overall. I've looked at all areas. I think look at all areas to improve, and I think that again, you have these ideas. You go into these situations and deadlines where you're looking to execute on something. Sometimes the market dictates if that's an option for you or not. But certainly I've been exploring all options.
This is your first chance, I guess, to see Shane Pinto this season. Can you tell me your impressions of his play in his first couple games back?
Yeah, I think it's only been a couple of games for Shane, but first of all, he brings the enthusiasm to the group as well. I think he's got a great personality and passion for the game, but when you talk about 200 feet players, a 200-foot player, I think Shane has a lot of that in his game, along with other attributes for us as well. So when you bring a player like Shane back in the lineup, it balances things a little bit, and he's been a welcome addition.
Steve, have you had any conversations with Vlad Tarasenko about his future? Because I think a lot of us look at him. He's a pending unrestricted free agent. Have you had conversations with him, and where do you see him fitting in as a puzzle piece for this team?
I have not had a conversation with Vladdy. Obviously, he's with where we are in the standings, and him becoming an unrestricted free agent. It's certainly something that we'll continue to take a look at. I've been extremely impressed with Vlad. I didn't know him before I got in here. He's a Stanley Cup champion. Plays on both sides of the puck. I think probably you'd see just the offense in his game, but he's much more well-rounded than I expected. And watching him on a day-to-day basis, I think I've been really impressed.
Alex Formanton is a restricted free agent who is under your team control. And I'm just wondering what kind of conversations, if any, you've had either with the player or the agent in recent weeks or recent time.
Well, I haven't spoken to the player, and I think all questions with regards to the situation have to go through the National Hockey League. I don't know really anything that I would say would probably be just speculation on it. Everything that we've all read and whatever we've heard. So yeah, all those questions will have to go through the league.
Steve, with regards to coaching, Jacques right now is interim. Where's the search for a new coach at?
It's in process. I think we've kind of put names together where might fit, and we'll go through that. I think the off season is going to be a great opportunity for us to take a look at that. Again, I'm extremely encouraged with the work that Jacques and Alfie and Jack and Ben Sexton and now Justin Peters have done with this group, and hoping that this last 5-game stretch is something that we can continue to build off of. This team is still in the growth phase. They really are, and they're learning how to win. We continue to get better in a lot of areas, and I think most importantly in the areas that are going to help us win games more consistently.
Michael did an interview yesterday in French and brought up the name Patrick Waugh and said, just the timing wasn't right, but it was hinted at the idea that he's someone who knows how to win, and this team is still learning how to win. With that in mind, and he said, it's up to you who's going to be that next coach. Is it somebody who's going to have I'll say like a specific type of background that this group needs in order, from where Jacques and company take them to the end of the season?
It's a great way to put it. Yeah, I feel like Jacques and Alfie and this staff is really laying down the foundation for what it's going to take for the next level to come in. Is there certain criteria that I'd like to see with our next head coach? Yeah, there's a wish list. I won't get into sort of those details, but there's certainly a picture of a type of coach that I'd like to see. And the other thing is, it's more than just the head coach. I think the balance with the coaching staff, the experience, the personalities, their background in each area, I think is going to be hugely important. No different than putting a roster together. I think that you have to keep in mind that with coaches, it's the same thing.
Can you, where do the talks stand right now with the NCC about a potential arena at Le Breton or downtown? Where are we with a new arena?
That's a question for Michael. Yeah.
My second question is just elaborate a bit on Ian's. Can you just maybe specify why the Ottawa Senators didn't sign Forton?
If you want to elaborate.
I can elaborate for sure. It was, I was here prior to all that happening, so I really don't have much information on why he's not signed with us.
In the interview yesterday with Michael and Lauer on air in Gatineau, with us actually, he said that he regrets a little bit about Patrick Roy is now an Islander. Do you feel the same way? Is that really a question of timing?
I think timing has a lot to do with why we have Jacques Martin and Daniel Alfredson in. I think the timing of the group, I think it was really well put that I think it's my job to identify where this group is at and then what the right fit might be. And so timing certainly has a lot to do with any of these decisions.
Yes, no, we know very well Benoit Gros. Could he be considered for the job? Because Michael said yesterday that is a very good coach.
He's a very good name that's out there, yes. Yeah, along with others, but yes, of course.
Will Jacques finish the year?
That's the plan. I mean, Jacques and I have a great relationship, and he's done a phenomenal job with this group. So I don't see that there's any situation where that would change. But again, we're looking at opportunities to make this group better in all areas, and make a change at goaltending coach because the opportunity was right and the timing was right. So I'm not suggesting that that's going to happen with a head coaching opportunity, but I couldn't be more encouraged with the messaging, the execution, and where this team's going under Jacques Martin.
One of the things that's been said about you, Steve, is that you don't have any ties to any of these players. These are not guys you drafted. They're not guys you signed. They're not people you brought in. When do you make a decision whether it's time to strike at the core? And I mean your big 6 or 7.
Well, I don't think, and I've said this to you before, is that I don't think that it was fair for me to give a full evaluation on this team until they started to have some stability in their play. So I don't want to rush to judgment on any of these players. Now we're getting a sense of what this team's all about, and again, I've been very encouraged over the last 5 games.
When you came in, would you have expected at this point of the season to be 18, 24-1?
No. I thought, the roster would sort of show that you'd probably have a better record than that. Now, I can go back to Norris being injured to start the season, Shabbat for stretches in the first half where we missed him, Shane Pinto not in the lineup, coaching change. Like there's been a lot that's happened. You don't want to use them as excuses, but certainly they are factors on why we are where we are right now. Now, can we turn it around? I'm encouraged. I think that you see the commitment from the group. I think you see the discipline. I think you see the details starting to come into our game, and that's really what I've been waiting for this group.
With that in mind, we've talked a lot about potentially sort of at times the lack of maturity with this group. Is that the need where as much you look on paper, it looks like great talent, you need those veterans and the leadership that you talked about of finding the balance that could affect maybe that core at some point?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways to be able to help this group along in those areas. One is Jacques Martin, Daniel Alfredson. Another is to see if there's some veteran leadership that have been through some of those battles and be able to look them in the eye during those times, during the game, to be able to help them out with that.
There's been a lot of chatter around Jakob Chychrun lately and where he fits here, and I'm wondering, how do you look at your blue line? Is it too heavy on the left side with left shot guys, and what are your thoughts kind of where Jakob kind of slots in right now?
I guess first I'll say I'm disappointed that his name's out there. I think when you have these conversations with other teams, if I'm on the other side looking at our team, I'm asking about Jakob Chychrun as well. So I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed for him. I guess it's part of the game, but he's a great player for us. He's a great young man and loves Ottawa, so he's going to have to deal with just those types of things being out there. But as far as your question to the balance of the defense, we have 3 guys on the left side, but Jakob does play on the right, and can balance it out. He seems to be handling the right side really well, so I guess we'll see how this kind of comes to fruition. There's good and bad on playing your offside, I think. If you ask any defenseman, there's some areas of the ice where I think there's more opportunity, and there's other areas where it can get you into some situations. But
what about the cap aspect of keeping Chychrun and maybe re-signing him and having Shabbat and Jake Sanderson, etc.?
Yeah, that's really all good questions. Jake's obviously an elite defenseman, and he's a year and a half away from being a free agent, and certainly is there a way for us to fit it in? Sure, I think there's always ways to be able to manage the cap to make sure that you're compliant. So we'll continue to look at that. I think right now, watching the D play and playing the way that they are with Jakob on the right and Shabby on the left, and so some interchangeable parts, I think time will tell.
Where you guys are at in the standings and maybe the draft suddenly becoming a little bit more important, who's kind of running point, so to speak, on the amateur side inside your department?
Don Boyd is the head of amateur for us, and we had great amateur meetings a couple of weeks ago, and well prepared for the second half of the season.
Steve, if we were to ask the players what their hopes were for the final half of the season, of course they'd say we're going to play until the final whistle, mathematically eliminated, that kind of stuff. But from a managerial standpoint, what kind of hope do you have to either go on a run, or are you more looking long-term right now? What's your perspective on that?
A little bit of both. I think I'm encouraged with the way that we played, that we'd be able to go on a run with this group. If you play with those details, I don't think looking at the final result is the way to do it. I think you got to just take it day by day, and I think this group's doing a good job of that right now.
How does that change for you just going into the deadline? Let's say this team keeps playing well. Does that change how you approach the deadline?
I think the market will dictate. Yeah. Okay.
Can I just get your reaction to the news of the 5 junior players being brought into London Police?
Yeah, I can't comment or question on that. Those questions have to go through the league.